In this third video, we're going to talk about the sales process, but before we examine what the sales process looks like from an email marketing perspective, in other words, you've got to be able to sell something strictly through email. Before we do that, we have to look at the sales process in general. So I'm going to share with you the 5 critical steps in the sales process, and this happens, it doesn't matter, whether it's online or offline, it doesn't matter what product or what service you're selling. This sales process in 5 steps has to occur professionally. It has to be well executed before you could have a paying customers. So the first step is that you've got to build rapport. You've got to build trust with your prospect. And the reason why it's important is that in the following step, you're going to ask them for their needs. And people usually don't tell you what they really need unless they trust you. So trust or rapport can be built through different marketing activities like branding and events and the reputation that your company has on social media, etc. So rapport and trust is very, very important to start the sales process. Once you sense that there is a rapport, you sense that the prospect trusts you, then you can legitimately ask them what they need, and what their budget are, their needs and budget, what they are. So you can ask them, to fill out a form, or you can ask them through a conversation, are you looking for a computer for office or for home? Or are you looking for a phone service for yourself or for your family, etc. So this is where you're asking a lot of pertinent questions. Now, from the answers that you're getting in step number 2, then you can make a presentation of the relevant products and service. Okay, but you cannot make a presentation that is effective, that is relevant, unless you know what they need. And by the way, this is the mistake of so many people on LinkedIn. They're pitching me a cold sales message. This is the first message they're sending me, and they're pitching right away their company's products and services, but they haven't built the rapport, so I don't trust them. They don't know what I need, so they're jumping to step number 3, and this is definitely a no-no. So step number 3 is where you're presenting in a dramatic fashion, if possible, the relevant products and services, given what they need, given what they're looking for, given what their budget is. Okay. Step number 4 is you have to expect that. Is when they're raising an objection. They might say something like, "Oh, I like your product, but it seems a little bit expensive." Or they might say something like, "Oh, I need to talk to my team. I need to talk to my wife. I need to talk to my husband. I need to talk to my children. I need to talk to my dog." Okay, I'm kidding. Maybe not the dog there, but you have to expect that they're gonna raise some objection, and usually they will have an objection, and in their minds, for sure. So you want to get them to say what their objection is. An objection is not negative. An objection is simply a reason that they feel is legitimate. It's a reason that stops them from buying. So you got to help them to overcome the objection. If their objection is price or budget, or if their objection is that there's a feature that they don't really like, then you got to answer that objection. You got to overcome that objection. And this is not a course on sales, but in my professional sales course, I would teach students to really figure out the real objection. Just to give an example, people might not be able to afford an iPhone, right? Let's say they want to buy an iPhone and it costs like $1,200, but they're not going to tell you, "I can't afford it," because it's a little bit embarrassing, right? So they're going to say something, "Well, I'm going to think about it." So that's like a common objection, but it's not a real objection. So you gotta really try to figure out, like, what is the real objection? Is it the budget? If it's a budget and they don't have $1,200 for the iPhone, you can offer financing, you can offer a bonus, a deal, etc. So always make sure that you have rebuttals to all the objections that they have. The good news is that most people are not very creative. I mean, there's going to be like 5 or 10 objections that will come up every single time. And so as a professional salesperson, you want to have very good answers to those objections. But you want to make sure when you're handling objections that you make them feel that they're totally right. So you say something like, "Mr. Prospect, I totally understand, and many of our customers have had that objection before, but here's how we solve the problem." So you want to have a problem-solving attitude, and you want to help them overcome the objection. You don't want to say something, "What? You don't have the budget?" Like, you don't want to, you don't want to antagonize them. You want to make them feel that you're on their side and you're here to help them to solve their problem, to solve their objection. Finally, we have closing. Closing is probably the shortest step, but it's often the most difficult for junior sales representatives because they don't have, I don't know, the courage, or they're afraid that the customer is going to say no. So closing is simply when you're saying a sentence that will commit them. Okay, they don't have a choice but to commit. If they don't commit, they might say no, but that's okay. It's why we call it a closing attempt. You try to close once, doesn't work. You try to close again, it doesn't work, and the third time, usually it should work. So closing simply means that you're saying something like, "Oh, great. So would you like to pay cash or credit card?" So notice that whether they pay cash or credit card, you're gonna get the money anyways, right? So that's what we call by closing, a closing sentence. Or you can say, "Should we ship this furniture to your office or should we ship it to your home?" Right? So you're making a closing attempt. You're assuming that they've made up their mind already, and you have to assume. Okay? Usually making assumptions in life is not really good, but when it comes to sales, you've got to assume that they've made up their mind. And don't worry, like I said, if you're wrong in your assumption, they're not ready to buy, they will tell you, "Whoa, whoa, 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 I'm not ready to have this furniture delivered yet." And when they say that, you can say something, "Oh, I'm sorry, did you have any question that I can help you with?" And then you answer their questions, you answer their objections, and you make another closing attempt. Okay, so as you can see, sales is really, really simple, only 5 steps, but you've got to practice these steps all the time in order to become a professional salesperson. Okay, so now that we know what the sales process is about, then we're going to tackle in the next video how the sales process applies within an email marketing context.